All right, so we're going to be taking a look at Powertown Magnum TA. Now, of course, this is going to be our last one for a little bit until we get Kerry Von Erich in the mail. But again, this is the last one for now. Hopefully, by the time I post all of these, I'll have Kerry Von Erich, although I haven't heard anything from Powertown, so I'm not 100% sure. Just like the other ones, we'll start with the packaging. Very awesome packaging. I really love these boxes. These might be some of my boxes and just all wrestling toys. They don't feel cheap. They don't feel like they're going to be torn apart. They're just super cool boxes, and I love just the whole aesthetic of them all. I love the black and like the gold highlight and orange. Very cool. But getting into the figure, or the box of the figure, right? We have Magnum TA, portrait on the front of his figure. Looks very, very nice. Powertown at the bottom. Championship up top, NWA United States Heavyweight Wrestling Championship. Mouthful. Right on the side, Magnum TA. And of course, we have the different figures in the wave. I'm very excited for this one for many, many reasons, and we'll go into that in just a few. And of course, different accessories on the side. Series 1, number 3. He is the number 3 of the set. Very, very cool. Let's open up the flap. You can see him. And again, right off the bat, he's just a lot more colorful than the other figures so far. I think it looks super, super cool, and I can't wait to play around with his accessories. And we'll get to that in just a little bit, and won't get too off track just looking, right? Awesome photos of him. And let's get into the read up. When you think of the 1980s wrestling heartthrobs, you think of Magnum TA, best known for his time in Championship Wrestling of Florida, Mid-South Wrestling, and Jim Crockett Productions. Magnum TA was one of the hottest wrestlers of the early to mid-80s, capturing his first heavyweight championship in 1984 by defeating Mr. Wrestling 2. Magnum quickly became an overnight main event. Standing 6'1", 245 pounds, Magnum TA was best known for his belly-to-belly suplex, with a wrestling style that evolved into a classic brawler with an intensity second to none. Not all wrestlers have career-defining moments, but Magnum TA may best be remembered for two. In 1985, Magnum defeated Tully Blanchard to regain the NWA United States Heavyweight Championship in a brutal I Quit steel cage match. Then in 1986, following the stripping of his title, Magnum TA faced off against Nikita Koloff in a best-of-7 series. Split 3 wins in a piece. The tie-breaking match was decided with help from Ivan and Crusher Khrushchev as Koloff won the series. One step away from the World Championship, Magnum's in-ring career was cut tragically short following an automobile accident in October 1986. Against all odds, Magnum recovered and found his fit into wrestling again, working for Turner Broadcasting until 1991. Following his career in wrestling, Magnum forged a new path. Although Magnum's in-ring career only spanned a short 7-year period, his trajectory in professional wrestling leaves many asking the question, what if? Magnum TA's legacy may best be reflected in the persona of wrestlers of today when you see a rebellious face incite heel heat. Very, very nice read-up, as always. I really do enjoy these read-ups as well. They're not too specific. I find that Mattel has very specific ones. Obviously, they base their figures off specific nights and events, but these are so very, I'd say, close to heart with the wrestler, and just a very nice, warm read-up on them. So let's get Magnum TA out of the box. Again, if you don't know, I've technically opened these all before, but I've never unboxed them and fully taken them out of their clamshell prison here. So we'll just close up the box, put it to the side with our other figures standing over there. And here he is in his tray. He looks very, very nice. Again, I love the colors. He's quite the contrast compared to everyone else in the set as far as the wrestling gear goes. So very, very cool. And I'm digging the leather jacket. We're going to get into that shortly. Just get him out of the tray for now. Again, very cool. You can just unplug these guys right out of the box very, very easily. And yeah, he looks awesome. Again, just like the Luthez, I'm noticing the body hair looks very, very natural, really, really cool. I'm noticing a couple other things off the bat, which we'll go into a little later. His leather jacket looks awesome. Again, I think we're going to have some issues getting it off. Honestly, I'm looking at this jacket and I feel like I could put it on a couple other figures, whether they be wrestlers or not. It's a nice piece. So then, of course, he has, I believe these are elbow pads. I'll take a look. Maybe they're knee pads. He has a fisted hand. This figure came with two hands. The pointer figure, obviously, and of course the championship belt. So let's put this aside for now, and we'll take a look at the articulation, everything else with Magnum TA. So here's Magnum TA now out of the jacket. We're gonna take a closer look at that later, as we've been doing with all the other clothes in the series. Just very beautiful likeness, just looks very awesome. This might be a contender for one of my favorites in this lineup. But let's get into the articulation before we make any sort of decision like that. So again, as we discovered, these heads are on a ball joint as well as a hinge joint. So you can get them to look very, very far down, as you can see. Like, that's very impressive for any figure, honestly. It can obviously look left and right, and then he can look decently far up. I think much like Brody, the hair kind of gets in the way of really taking full advantage of the articulation, which is a little unfortunate, but you know, you win some, you lose some. I think that's kind of the takeaway when it comes to this figure. Looks very good though. Again, shoulder joints. These are actually a lot looser than, or more loose than the other figures I've been reviewing. You can see they can go up very, very easily. They're not loose in the sense that they're going to be dangling or like flopping around or anything, but you can see how easily I'm getting them up without really having to try super hard. Bicep, again, swivel in the bicep, very good, and then a hinge with a pinned joint in the elbow. Wrist, again, similar to the neck, ball joint with a hinge, so you can get them in, honestly, some pretty awesome positions with the wrist. I think that's very, very fantastic. Then we have, of course, the torso joint. Again, I've found that these aren't the best when it comes to articulation. They don't really move too far forward, not too far back without you having to really stress the figure. At the waist, Magnum TA actually might be the worst, or maybe I just need to loosen them up. Just for a little bit of reference, I think the best one so far with waist joint articulation has been Stan Hansen, but as you can see, really stiff. I can't really get it to go without forcing it, unfortunately. We'll lift his arms up for now so we can show off the leg articulation. Again, with the more slimmer down figures, this is a little more easier to pull off, and it works pretty dang well. So you have that. I'm noticing little tiny scuffs in areas I'm hoping that I didn't cause. A little unfortunate, but it's whatever. Then we have the knees, again, pin joints, just like the elbows. They can bend very, very nice like that. We have that little swivel in the calf or on the boot, whatever you want to call it. And then you have the feet articulation here that can go left, they can go right, and then they can also, of course, go forward and back. So very, very good. Now, detail on Magnum is very, very good. I think he may be the most accurate, at least in my opinion, or from my first observation with these guys, right? Again, I really appreciate the body hair. It looks super, super good, super natural and realistic. And then, of course, just like the Stan Hansen and Bruiser Brody, the hair detail is very, very nice. I'm thinking now, upon taking a closer look, it's not as natural looking as I maybe would want it to be. You can tell that there's a lot of brushwork in there. It isn't just straight like blonde. There's also some blacks and browns kind of painted throughout or dry brushed in, however they do it. I almost think it's a little too dark, maybe. I think, I'm not really sure how they could have fixed it, but maybe changed up the colors just a little bit. Mustache looks good. Again, likeness looks great. Trunks, he has red trunks, unlike everyone else who I think has had black trunks up until now. So this looks good. I think these trunks are reuse. I'd have to take a closer look. Maybe once we do the full series review, we'll take a closer look at that. Knees are a little annoying because you have that peg in there that is the same color as the skin. However, you have the optional knee pads, which we'll put on later. And of course, the boots look really fantastic. The little star constellation details are printed on super nicely. And then you have the little logo down there. Looks very, very good, very awesome. No peg holes, of course. We'll put him down, and then we'll get to the accessories. So leather jacket, again, looks amazing. It honestly looks like a Terminator jacket, right? Again, hard to put on, hard to take off of the figure. I don't know if I want to keep him wearing this or if I want to keep him not wearing this. I think I might keep it off along with the other ones just so he can always be in kind of like the pose to wrestle, I think is the way to go. But otherwise, detail's incredible sculpt. You can see all the zippers, all the just buttons, everything in there is great. It's not just a flat black color either. There's a little bit of gray maybe washed out through the whole the whole piece, right? There's maybe even some browns in there, very, very close if you look on the wrinkles. Just a very beautiful, beautiful piece. Again, just not very well articulated. You can't get much out of it. Visually looks better than maybe a cloth piece, a real piece of clothing, but it just kind of lacks in the articulation part of it. So a little unfortunate. We'll quickly take his other optional clothing pieces, which I'm a little more inclined to use, and those are the knee pads. I think they are pretty much the same, both of them. So what we'll do is, since we know we can take off the boots, we'll remove those. Hopefully not knock down our whole setup, and we'll take our knee pads. I don't know if there's a specific right or left, but we will squeeze them on to the figure like that. Not sure how far up they're exactly supposed to go, but that looks pretty natural to me. And then we'll do the same with the other one, just like that. Now that starts to hide that little peg detail that maybe wasn't so visually nice. So we'll plug his feet back in. And then there he is, and I think that looks a lot better. So then of course he comes with two optional hands. Unfortunately they're both for the right hand, which is a little strange, a little unfortunate. We get that fisted hand that we got with Luthez and Vern Gagne, and then of course we have his pointer finger, which looks very, very cool. He has the little wrap around it, the bandage, whatever you want to call it. So we'll actually swap out for the pointer finger. Of course, we're going to get some cool poses out of him very, very soon. In the meantime, there you go. Money shot. Very, very nice. As you can see. Very, very cool. And then, of course, the showstopper, obviously, is the U.S. Heavyweight Wrestling Championship belt. This one you can clearly make out the text if you look close enough. Very, very cool. This is visually looks more of what you'd expect from WWE modern belts. Of course, this is made with a lot of care, very much like the other figures in this wave. Very thin belt with very reflective golden reflective plates, so it looks very, very good. So we'll put that on him in just a second. So there he is with his championship belt. Looks awesome, looks great. Before we get to the end of the video, we are going to take a look at some size comparisons for scale purposes. Here he is next to the Ultimate Edition Hulk Hogan. Here he is next to the Ultimate Edition Alexa Bliss. There he is next to the rest of the Powertown lineup, minus Kerry Von Erich, of course. Do not have him yet, but as you can see, he scales pretty nicely with anything you might have in your collection. Again, we're going to talk more about these guys' scales, more so compared to Mattel and other figures in the overall review of the series, but this looks great altogether so far. So without further ado, let's get to the verdict. Alright, so as you can expect, much like the other figures in the line, this guy is getting an easy 8 to 9 out of 10, maybe more so an 8, just for the you know what, I might give him a 9 just because he's so awesome. The title is great. He's a very colorful figure compared to his friends in the lineup. Not many issues. I didn't see any smudging on this guy. Maybe a little bit on his shoulder back here compared to, who was it, Luthez, who had some of those issues. The jacket is very cool. Again, these aren't my favorite pieces, but they are pretty neat to just have and look at. So he's honestly, Magnum TA honestly gets a very high score from me. So now we've come almost to the end. We're still waiting on one more, Kerry Von Erich, to come. I was very excited for him, and I really cannot wait to get my hands on him. But otherwise, Magnum TA, obviously, highly recommend, just like the other ones in the set. And as you saw, them all together look very, very impressive. So thanks again for watching. Please follow. I promise you, as soon as I get Kerry, we are going to be looking at him just like we did all these other figures. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye-bye.